Okay, primitive mycology here again. And today we're going to be cutting up some little agar cups that were made specifically from transfers that need to go into long-term storage. I try to be as finance-minded as possible, or as frugal as possible. When I know that I'm going to waste a plate, the little condiment cups work great for that. They're so cheap that if I'm going to let something grow in it for a week and then cut it up and make spawn with it, or cut it up and throw it into long-term storage, that's plenty sufficient enough. They work wonderful for that, and they cost next to nothing. Also, you're not pouring and throwing away near as much agar. Any kind of growth or a plate that I'm going to subculture from, or the plate that I would pull the subculture from to make the spawn, now those will be 90 millimeter plates. I use 60 millimeter plates too, but it all has kind of like a tier of what I'm doing with it. Some people only use 90 millimeter plates, and that's fine. It's all personal preference. I just try to cut costs and save money anywhere that I can. However less wasteful of my hard-earned money I can be, the better. Anyways, let's get to it here. First thing is scalpel here. It's been previously used just a few minutes ago. So we'll wipe the handle down here, and when I've used something previously for another project, I'm going to really sterilize this. I'm going to use a much larger torch, and I'm going to heat this thing up completely cherry red. I want to make sure there's no remnants of my previous project left on this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now that's going to get very hot. That heat is going to go through that handle, and it's going to take a little while to cool. But I can be confident that I'm not carrying anything from my last project to this, which was no more than 10 minutes ago. But regardless, I don't want to be carrying anything from another pathogen to this. Now, while that's cooling, in here, these little containers work great as a secondary container for when I sterilize things. They work absolutely fantastic to put other smaller containers in. Number one, so they're not falling over in the pressure cooker. And number two, because it kind of gives a buffer. These little vials right here are just absolutely fantastic. I love these things for long-term storage. I use a slightly larger glass vial for spore solutions, but these are absolutely phenomenal for long-term storage. These are just 3 milliliters rather than 5, and you can put, you know, 2, 3, sometimes 4 agar chunks in here, depending on how big an agar chunks you've got. And these were sterilized yesterday. They've been tightened up and allowed to cool overnight and throughout this entire day today. I'm going to start out with just 2 of them there. And these come in little boxes, little organizers like this. These are very, very cheap. I think I might have given $6 for the organizer and all the tubes in it. And there's 36 in here. You know, keeps them organized, keeps them protected. And then for my spore solutions, I use these little miniature glass bottles. These, like I said, are just slightly bigger, and they are absolutely fantastic. I love these things. I don't think those cost more than $4 or $5. Sanitize hands again. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. That's really nice rhizomorphic growth there. Very, very pretty growth. This is Chlorotus columbinus from Michigan. I also have an Ostriatus aspen oyster from Oregon that I'll be working with here soon. The columbinus starts out very, very blue and turns to kind of a lighter gray as it matures. What is always referred to as a blue oyster. Also, the Ostriatus, there's variations of it, cultigens of it, that are kind of bluish when they pin, and then they kind of turn like a darker gray. There's also Ostriatus, like the aspen oyster, that will turn almost stark white, like sometimes almost snow white, as they mature. Those are 2 that I would like to cross between each other. I think that I've had a successful cross with those 2 before, but at the time I wasn't yet picking and verifying monokaryons. I was doing basically like, I'm not sure if this is the correct terminology, but a smash plate where you double swab, basically. You double swab across each other and then you look for new things. I couldn't confirm that. So, you know, what do you do but start over? And to make sure I can start over many, many times if need be, I'm going to put this into long-term storage. Well, anyways, Let's give this blade one more little heat up here. Get set for a second. Sorry, that would have been in front of the camera there. We'll go ahead and get our first one here. Get the cap crack loose here. Get it ready. Scalpel's cool. See, by cutting the chunks that small, I can fit several more in there than I would be able to otherwise. Lids don't go back on that well. But we're in front of the floor and we won't be able to compare it on. Do the same thing here. that's it for the long-term storage of that. Let that cup sit there while I get these labeled and wrapped up, and then out of that same cup we're going to make a little 60mm plate that I will put up as another form of backup. I try to always keep at least 1 or 2 long-term storage tubes and water storage, as well as 1 or 2 slants, and always at least one 60mm plate. If I lose a culture, I'm going to go back to the 60mm plate first once that runs out, or I continue to restart it, or who knows, a plate could contaminate to the point where I'd rather not waste the time saving it. I can go back to that. If there's anything wrong with that, or I run it out, well, then I've got slants, and then these are the ultimate long-term storage. These will keep for a very long time. I'm not sure, but I would think that these would probably last longer than a slant. Again, I'm not sure on that, but that's just how I feel about it after the amount of time that I've been doing this. As I label these and do this, I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and then I'll be back when we're ready to go on to the transfer to the 60mm plate. I'll go ahead and put it in here, me wrapping one of these. For anything that I want to keep a while, I always use this green grafting tape. Not only does this stuff stick to itself extremely well, it's very, very tough, and it has the ability, being as tough as it is, to really, really stretch tight around things. Making a good seal. So I don't want to go back to my long-term storage a year or 2 from now, 3, 5 years from now, and find out that the parafilm that was on it cracked, and now everything in there is contaminated when I thought I could rely on it. Parafilm is great for all kinds of things, but long-term storage, I personally don't think so. But my opinion isn't always the same as everybody else's. Okay, so now we're back here. Sanitize my hands again. And we'll go ahead and use our alcohol rag down our scalpel handle. Let it sit for a second so it doesn't catch on fire in my hand, because my hands are still a little bit wet. That should be good. Go ahead, sterilize here. transfer out of this. That's it. Being as there's a whole lot, of chance that this could possibly now contaminate because the lid is rough at this point from being wrapped and sealed. What I will do with this is I'm just going to set this to the side, and then I'm going to make spawn with it. Not on this video, but I'll be making spawn with this. That way it doesn't go to waste, and this just isn't, this isn't the way that I choose to store any kind of long term. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. And this is primitive mycology. This long-term water storage method, I first seen this come from Ed Grand. This is not my technique. Prior to seeing him do that, I was all for slants. And I still do like slants, but the long-term water storage I have found is definitely superior for long-term. Anyways, this is primitive mycology. Y'all have a good one.